Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me for some more disc golf coverage. We've got the Chatuaqua Park Open. This coverage sponsored by Chautaqua Collision Center, and this tournament brought to you by Chautaqua Collision Center. A huge thank you to them. We're starting off on hole 1, par 3, 211 feet. We've got this nice straight fairway shot with a very short right-hand finish, so most of our players probably opting for the right-hand forehand and just kind of skipping in there toward the basket. Up first, we have Chad Sherbert. We've just got a 3-man card today. Very nice for me. It made it a lot easier to edit. Chad coming up a little bit short. I believe he'll be right there in that fairway, so he'll have a look at the basket. Kyle Gray coming up here. Opting for the pig, of course. Put a nice line on that. Unfortunately, hitting that tree and putting a nice thwack. And we have Cameron Roberts, or Cameron Blaine Roberts, or Cameron Blaine or Blaine Roberts, or any combination thereof. Forehand dominant player here. And that one skipped a little bit long up the pin, I believe. Or I'll just eat my words immediately after. Cameron coming up short. Oh, nice bid from Cameron. Definitely had the height, but not the line. Chad from only a little bit further up, but all these little pencil trees here getting in the way. Putting that one on a nice Anheuser angle to get around those trees. Great birdie from Chad there. Oh, a little undercommitted from Kyle. Tap in par from Kyle, and Cameron still some work left to do to get the par. Cashing that one in. Great par save, and moving on to hole 2. Here we are on hole 2, par 3, 256 feet. We have this beautiful lake to the left, OB the whole way. And so we have this right to left moving shot, so most of our players probably going to opt for the right-hand forehand. If you're lefty, you can just cheat and throw the nice hyzer. OB all around the basket. As you can see, that lake is pretty low at this time of the year, though, so much easier to get in bounds. Chad showing us how it's done there, putting himself right inside the circle. Some worry about maybe rolling behind and going OB that way. We'll have to see when we get up there. Kyle putting a nice line on this one. Oh, getting some water assistance there. And finally, we have Cameron. Huge spike hyzer. Putting himself in a great spot. You heard him here say might have been a little bit deep, but no, he's just right there next to Chad. Chad did, in fact, roll OB, which is very unfortunate. Almost cutting through the basket with that putt. This hole definitely not one you need to get the birdie on. A lot of our pros will tell you that this is definitely a bonus birdie hole with how easy it is to go out of bounds. But when you're losing a stroke like this, it definitely hurts a little bit. Cameron gaining a stroke there on Chad, so they're tied up 1 down. And Kyle to tap in his 2 as well. Very well thrown. Hole 3, par 3, 274 feet. We have this tight gap off of the tee, so you got to make this initial gap. It is much less thick than you see here because it is, of course, you know, we're coming into the fall season, so much thinner trees. So, and we've taken out a couple of things as we've cleaned up the course, so much easier gap than the drone footage. But Kyle showing us, ooh, pulling that one a little bit to the right. He'll have a bit of work to do. Cameron lining up the tomahawk, as you know and love. Considering maybe just a regular forehand. We'll see what he does. Opting for the turnover forehand. Oh, unfortunate kick off that tree. That was a great shot. An unfortunate result, but he will have himself a 40 or so footer. Chad piping this one straight at the basket. Beautiful shot. I don't know if you could throw it any better than that. Here we have Kyle. Probably about 80 feet. Giving that one a nice run. Maybe a bit shorter than 80 feet. More like 60 or 70. Here we have Cameron from 30 feet. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, beautiful run from Cameron. Very rude roll. As he says, that's what you get for running it. Great par cleanup from Cameron. Kyle here to clean up his 3 as well. And Chad to tap in his park job. He's just stepping off that CTP flag to see if he actually got it or not. But I think we can very clearly see that he did get it. He's about 1.5 feet closer, so... And totally forgetting that he has to play the hole out. Great 2 from Chad here. Here on hole 4, par 3, 435 feet, excuse me, not 534. We have this initial gap to hit off the tee. It's no big deal. It's just about 5 feet wide the whole way. Very narrow gap, very low ceiling. A lot of thick stuff if you get cut down short. This is the par 4 position that the drone footage is flying to right now, which is where it's at for round 2. But for round 1, it's only about 435 feet away from here. So hit this initial gap, go about 310 feet, maybe 300, and get yourself on top of that hill for an approach shot. I don't think anybody's really going to be going for the basket with how narrow this gap is, but we'll see. Chad coming up a little bit short of that hill that you'd like to land on, but he will be past the thick stuff, so not the worst spot to be, excuse me. Kyle hitting something pretty early, turning that over just a little bit. He will be in the thick of it. Cameron opting for this turnover forehand. Kicking all the way over to the right, but that will actually end up in a clear spot. So he will have a pretty easy up and down, I would say, comparatively. Kyle with this tomahawk thumber roller angle. He will get out into the clearing and have a look to get up and down for the bogey, or worse, potentially. Cameron ended up in a pretty good spot. Put a great line on that. That'll probably be about 25 or so feet.
At the basket and went right. I don't know how far.
Chad on his approach shot.
Yeah, Chad.
Put about right under the basket if it didn't roll, as you hear him say in the back. Kyle, great up and down. You should have a pretty easy look at the 4. Here we see Cameron for his 3. About 25 or maybe more feet just downhill. Wow. Very committed. Just didn't get the right line on that one.
Fair enough.
Makes good on his bogey. Kyle to match that. And he does so, and Chad to tap in his par. Nobody getting the birdie on this one. Par or worse for the day. Hole 5 is a par 3, 390-foot hole. We've got an OB road to the left-hand side, and then as we get closer to the basket, there's a walking path to the right. Not this one that we're over right now, but further on to the right, there will be a painted line and some flags for the tournament. Really, this is a huge turnover backhand or a huge forehand hyzer, or if you're really huge, you can be like Chad and just throw to the right of everything and have it hyzer in. So really kind of a dealer's choice on how you want to approach this hole or what you're more comfortable throwing. Here we see Chad opting for the huge right side, asking for it to hook and not go OB. We will see where that landed, but he did clear all of these trees, so...
There's a sidewalk over there to the right. So under the bridge and across the sidewalk.
Kyle kind of struggled off the tee here and just worm burned that one right into the ground, and he'll probably really only be about 120 feet off the tee with that shot. It's a lot of work left to do to get up and down.
It kind of almost looks like the one from Twisted Metal.
Cameron put a great line on this. A rude little kick there. I think if it missed that, it would be immediately under the basket, but he'll be a little bit short. Kyle throwing the pig, putting himself about 15 or so feet.
And I shoot ricochets off into the map.
In the background, you can hear Chad talking about an old video game, Twisted Metal. Maybe some of you have heard of it. Way too low out of the hand for Chad. He'll have to settle for the par with that attempt.
That's a unique thing. I like big rip.
Cameron from under the magnolia tree. In a pretty good spot, though. They've done a lot to clear this up and make it actually, like, not death if you go in there.
Ah!
Cameron, all along... Blah, blah, blah. Just, oh my gosh, I can't even talk. Chad cleaning up his 3. Cameron all around the basket, but just not in it on these last few putts. Hoping he starts to warm up here. Chad cleaning up the 3. And Cameron to follow suit before we move on to hole 6. Hole 6, par 3, 226 feet. It's just right there, aside from, you know, all of the stuff in the way. They've definitely trimmed it a lot more than what we see in this footage, as you'll see in the upcoming video. Oh, I'm having a stroke. All of these little spindly trees here to miss. Most of our players probably going to opt for the forehand. Chad, not quite as forehand dominant, opting for the turnover backhand. Misses that pine tree nicely.
straight down.
Should put himself in a pretty good spot to have a look at the 2. Kyle opting for that forehand. Looks like a Firebird in hand. Opting for the spike hyzer angle. And that should be in a great spot. He just got over that little stump.
Me. I can't do that tight of a forehand.
And we have Tomahawk specialist Cameron Roberts here. Hitting that the one tree to miss. Really the tree that's in the way of the shot.
I don't know why they call it that. See, I took those magnolias down. You couldn't get this one? I mean, those were higher up on the hill.
I would also like to point out, in front of Cameron, there's this huge golden orb weaver web, which you can kind of see. And I would just like to say thank you, Cameron, for not just directly putting through that, because I really like spiders. And so I appreciate that he respected the nature. Cameron, unfortunately, out of position for the 2. We'll have to settle for the easy tap in 3. Chad from pretty close, unfortunately, just too far to the right-hand side.
Talked yourself into that. It's straddle putt, man. I can't.
Kyle with the absolute tap in, scoring the 2. Very well earned there. And Cameron and Chad to clean up the 3s.
1 out of 4 at Big Rip.
Here we are on hole 7, par 4, 484 feet. We have this initial kind of tree gap here to hit. Most people probably not opting for that gap, mostly going to go to the left-hand side. But really, this is a very, very soft 4. Most of our players probably going to try for that eagle if they can get off of the tee. Kyle Gray with the pig, trying to get to the basket. I'm just kidding. He was laying this up to the opening there the entire time, just putting himself in a position to get up and down. I said they weren't going to go for that gap, but I don't know what I was smoking when I said that only a matter of seconds ago. Kyle putting a great line on this one. If it could just finish a bit. Yep, there we see. He's in the middle of the fairway. No OB on this hole as of yet, but if you end up in the thick stuff to the left or the right, you will wish that you had some OB. Finally, we see a tomahawk out of Cameron, putting himself in a great position. Thinking that he's right in the bushes. I don't believe he did end up. I believe he rolled out, so. Kyle, unfortunately, leaking that one to the right, kicking him to the left. He will have to do a lot of work to get that 3. Tomahawk after tomahawk, when they're available, Cameron will throw them, and putting himself 15 to 20 feet from the pin with that one. Chad with a nice lazy approach shot there. Not lazy in the fact he didn't try, but lazy in the fact that just easy for him to make it look so easy. Kyle trying to throw that one in, putting himself in a great spot to clean up the par anyway. Cameron dead center on that putt. Nice commitment, nice line. Definitely making the correction from the previous putts. Totally unrelated, but I've also had a huge audio upgrade here. Not only with a new camera to get much clearer audio and much better picture, but I have a new studio or a podcast level microphone to hopefully make it more intelligible. Chad cleaning up the easy 3. Kyle to tap in his par. Loving the pumpkin here. We arrive at hole 8, par 3, 278 feet. We have this initial gap to hit off the tee. A very common theme here in the wooded Crystal Springs course of Chautauqua Park. Beautiful course, by the way. Definitely recommend it. Really, it's just that initial gap that you've got that tunnel gap, I suppose I would say. If you just pipe it down the middle of that, you'll have a look at the basket. As Kyle has changed his appearance drastically. That is Chad. As Chad demonstrates expertly, line drive right down the middle. Very surprised to see that Cameron does not go for the tomahawk here. Pushing that one a little long, actually. Should have a good look at the 2, but from a bit of a distance that you would not want to be at. Kyle throwing his MD3 here, I believe, and almost pinning it. Beautiful shot from Kyle. All 3 of our pros here making the gap look nice and big. Let me reassure you, it is not that easy. Oh, Cameron, just a little too low. Huge, like, so much power on that. You could just see it. It was like zooming. Cleans up the 3. Chad from probably about 15 feet here. Maybe a little bit closer. Cleaning up that 2. Chad putting with his R Pro Rhinos, which he's very fond of. Kyle cleaning up that park job for the 2 as well. Making this look easy. Speaking of easy, this hole is not. Hole 9, par 3, 322 feet. We have one of the tightest tunnel shots that you will probably find, at least in Mississippi, at the very least. We have the initial tunnel shot off of the tee, and then we have the second tunnel before you even get to the basket. Chad finishing a little too much to the left. He'll be up on the hill. There is a creek in the middle of this, which technically surrounded by water is OB, but the water is so low, I don't think you'll find a spot to actually be OB. Kyle opting for the pig once again. This one's nice and beat in. He will also find himself up on the hill with a look at the basket. Ooh, excuse me. Cameron, I believe they're in a force here. That one leaking a little to the left, and he will hit a tree. So he will be in the thick stuff here, and prior to this shot, he had to move a turtle. And he went super long on that one. He is like 30 past the basket from there. Chad from probably 25, 30 feet, maybe just outside the circle. Oh, putting that one a little too high, I think, is the only reason that didn't catch, because
I feel so out of shape right now.
Some unnecessary commentary from cameraman me, as I had to scale that hill to get up there. We missed his first shot, but this is Kyle for his 3. Cleaning that one up nicely. Chad asking if, for pace of play reasons, he can tap out, while Cameron gets to his lie. Here we see he's about 25, 30 feet away with all these little pencil trees right between him and the basket. Trying to find a legal stance to even get to the basket from here. Just a little left side on that one. You will unfortunately have to clean up the bogey here. And not the way you want to finish. Going back to even. That'll be it for the front 9. Hope to catch you on the back 10. Yes, back 10. This is a 19-hole course, so front 9, back 10. Thank you, Chautaqua Collision Center, once again for sponsoring this tournament. We really appreciate you, and I hope to see you guys next time. Take care.